The South Florida condo market, once booming with potential, has just spiraled into chaos, and Governor Ron DeSantis is losing it. What seemed like a golden opportunity for homeowners and investors alike has now turned into a nightmare, with a shocking collapse in property values and insurance companies pulling out. Thousands of homeowners are left holding the bag, while the state government scrambles to pick up the pieces. In this video, we dive deep into the financial collapse that has rocked Florida's real estate market and examine the ripple effects that are now being felt across the state. Was it poor planning, a market bubble, or just a series of unfortunate events that led to this downfall? What do you think? Was this disaster inevitable? If you agree that Florida's condo market collapse was a ticking time bomb, comment 1. If you believe there's more to the story, comment 0. Enjoying the video so far? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on the latest news and analysis. Let's dive into the shocking story of how this once booming market crumbled before our very eyes. In 2021, the real estate market in Florida, particularly condominiums, witnessed an unprecedented boom. A surge in migration from states like New York, California, and Latin American countries brought an influx of approximately 220,000 new residents to Florida in just 1 year. This was no small number. It marked a clear shift in the demographic structure of the state. The rapid population growth led to a spike in demand for housing, while the supply could not keep up. With such a population increase, finding a condominium in areas like Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach became a battle for survival. Newcomers had to compete not only with each other, but also with longtime residents of Florida, all wanting a home in an increasingly scarce market. Many condominiums were sold out in mere hours after being listed. These rapid transactions, combined with fierce price competition, created a never-ending war for properties. The scarcity of condos pushed home prices to dizzying heights, yet buyers continued to search for opportunities. Some spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to own a small condominium with only basic amenities. The real estate market in Florida, especially in Miami, became not only a place to live, but also a fast-paced investment race. In addition to the rapid population growth, the supply shortage was another crucial factor. Market analysts noted that the current housing stock was insufficient to meet the demand of incoming residents. Competition between buyers stemmed not only from actual housing needs, but also from investors looking to profit from the skyrocketing property values. This shortage served as a warning to both investors and local authorities. Without timely measures to increase supply, a prolonged housing crisis could arise, leaving people trapped in a market they couldn't access. Indeed, policies and decisions regarding real estate management in Florida would need to be adjusted to avoid undesirable consequences. The population boom was especially apparent in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, which are areas with strong economic development, premium amenities, and high-end services that attracted not only long-term residents, but also people from states like New York and California. In a short amount of time, these regions saw a dramatic increase in condo buyers. People from these states were searching for a peaceful, safe place to live with a lower cost of living than major cities like New York or Los Angeles. Florida, with its mild climate and beautiful scenery, became an ideal destination. However, this rush of people only made the condo supply even more limited, causing property values to soar rapidly. Notably, competition in buying and selling condos became extremely tense. One of the most prominent conditions during this period was the speed with which condos were sold. Many deals were concluded just hours after a listing went live. This clearly indicated the intense pressure in the real estate market, where no property lasted long on the market. A key factor making this market so dynamic and competitive was the price war. Buyers were ready to pay more than the asking price just to secure a condo, creating a fierce bidding war. Investors scrambled tirelessly to buy properties in areas with high potential for price increases, capitalizing on the price differences between regions. While it seemed like an attractive investment opportunity, such tight real estate markets like Florida's in 2021 carried many risks. The rapid sale of condos and price wars pushing home prices higher could trap many buyers financially if property values failed to stabilize. A major takeaway from the housing crisis in Florida is the importance of developing and planning housing appropriately. Local authorities and investors must quickly implement measures to boost condo supply. This would not only help meet the housing needs of residents, but also reduce the risk of a financial crisis. Investors and buyers need to carefully assess the market before making decisions. While real estate investment can yield profit, the market's volatility can turn poor decisions into financial disasters. Another lesson is that investing in housing projects is not just about potential value, but also about considering sustainable development and long-term market accessibility. Areas with infrastructure development, amenities, and services will see better value appreciation in the future. While the Florida real estate market experienced a wild ride, the lessons from the 2021 period can apply to other real estate markets. Fierce competition, supply shortages, and rising property values are factors that should be carefully considered before making investment decisions. The collapse of the condo market in Florida was not a sudden accident, but the result of a series of unpredictable events and decisions. Factors such as rapid population growth and housing shortages created an environment rife with risks. When 220,000 new residents flocked to Florida, areas like Miami, Palm Beach, and Broward were struggling to meet the rising housing demand, while the supply remained constrained. The real estate market boomed for an extended period, but as more people arrived, the housing shortage became more apparent than ever before. However, the condo shortage was not merely an issue of supply and demand. Older buildings that had existed for decades began to become a significant burden. These structures no longer met the safety and quality standards of a modern society. They started facing severe structural issues, such as cracked walls, outdated electrical systems, and water supply problems, leading to enormous maintenance and repair costs. Local authorities began to realize that without improvements and upgrades, these buildings would pose a potential threat to the community. In response, lawmakers introduced new bills. One prominent piece of legislation was Senate Bill 4D, which included important changes related to the inspection and maintenance of condominiums. This bill required high-rise buildings to undergo regular structural inspections to ensure they met safety and quality standards. This meant that buildings had to be re-examined for structural integrity, elevators, electrical and water systems, and other critical safety components. However, these regulations were not without consequences. The boards of condominium associations began facing substantial costs to comply with the inspection and repair requirements. Repairing old buildings and addressing structural issues not only proved expensive, but also prolonged the completion time. Specifically, renovation projects for older condominiums encountered legal and cost-related issues, preventing property values from maintaining the steady growth they had enjoyed before. One of the key requirements of Senate Bill 4D was the creation of a reserve fund for condominium associations. This fund was meant to accumulate a specific amount of money to cover the maintenance and repair costs of the buildings when necessary. However, to build an adequately large reserve fund to ensure proper maintenance and repair, associations had to raise residents' monthly fees. This became a tough decision, as residents were already grappling with rising living costs and couldn't avoid the unexpected charges. The sudden increase in monthly fees took many residents by surprise and caused frustration. Meanwhile, property values could not maintain their stability, making them feel trapped in a difficult situation. Many people began to sell their condos, but due to unfavorable market conditions, they struggled to find buyers. Investors showed little interest in old condo renovation projects because the repair costs were too high and the returns were no longer attractive. The big lesson from this period is the necessity of careful planning and investment in real estate projects. Investors must carefully consider factors related to maintenance, repairs, and building upgrades to avoid unexpected costs in the future. Real estate investment is not just about buying and selling, but also about long-term planning and solid preparation. The requirement for reserve funds is an important part of maintaining the stability of condominiums. However, the financial management of associations needs to be transparent and cautious to prevent residents from shouldering unnecessary costs. The reserve fund should be built in small steps and with a long-term vision in mind. Investors need to thoroughly assess the condition of properties before deciding to invest in renovation projects. Sometimes, Constructing new buildings with modern standards and advanced technology can offer better long-term benefits than repairing outdated ones. Changes in policies and regulations related to building inspections and maintenance could provide an opportunity to improve the quality of life for residents. But they could also create significant financial burdens. Buyers and investors must carefully study legal regulations and their potential impact on future property values. Ultimately, the most important lesson is to never forget the human element in any decision related to the real estate market. Residents in condominiums are not just people living in these buildings, but also contribute to the stability and growth of the community. Decisions regarding repairs, upgrades, or new constructions must be made reasonably to avoid unfair burdens or injustices for residents. The shift from the condo boom to the financial crisis in Florida has shown that while the real estate market can experience explosive growth, a lack of proper planning and management can easily push it to the brink of a crisis. The insurance crisis in Florida between 2022 and 2025 created a major shock to the condo market, worsening the difficulties faced by both residents and investors. During this period, no fewer than 6 major insurance companies declared bankruptcy or withdrew from the market due to an inability to maintain operations in the face of rising costs and increasing risks from natural disasters. As a result, the property insurance market in Florida became more strained than ever, forcing buyers and homeowners to confront a series of serious issues. The primary reason for this withdrawal was the rapid increase in natural disaster risks, such as hurricanes, floods, and earthquakes. Particularly, powerful hurricanes like Hurricane Ian caused millions of dollars in damage to buildings and infrastructure in Florida. Insurance companies were forced to increase their reserves and raise premiums to cope with these losses, but this did not help them maintain sustainable profits. As a result, insurance companies had to reduce their risk acceptance or even completely withdraw from this high-risk market. One of the most significant changes in insurance policies during this period was the requirement for buildings and condos to have full insurance coverage that met strict standards to be approved for mortgages. This caused significant difficulties for the condo market, as many older buildings could not meet the insurance requirements. Condos without insurance or with insufficient coverage would not be approved for mortgages, creating a major barrier for potential homebuyers. For first-time buyers or those who couldn't demonstrate strong financial capabilities, the lack of proper insurance meant they could not proceed with real estate transactions. Financial institutions also could not carry out mortgage transactions on condos without adequate insurance, leading to a market deadlock where buying and selling became severely delayed. What was hard to believe, but was true, was that thousands of condos either had no insurance or had insufficient insurance to protect owners from significant risks. Many older buildings, before the new insurance regulations were applied, had not updated their insurance coverage, rendering them unsellable in the market. Buyers could not find full insurance coverage, and once insurance companies withdrew, the real estate market received another major blow. Transactions were put on hold, preventing sellers from selling their condos and buyers from making their desired purchases. This created a vicious cycle where unsellable condos led to plummeting property values and a significant decrease in demand. The lack of insurance and difficulty in obtaining qualified insurance contracts caused condo values to fall. Condo owners were stuck, unable to sell their properties at reasonable prices while real estate values had sharply declined. With transactions stalled and insurance requirements tightening, buyers struggled to complete mortgage procedures and purchase condos. This reduced the market's liquidity, making the real estate market even more sluggish. Residents and investors began to lose faith in the Florida real estate market as they could not find suitable insurance solutions. The withdrawal of insurance companies had destabilized the market, making investment decisions riskier than ever before. The sudden change in insurance policy was a big lesson for both buyers and investors. Before investing in real estate, thoroughly checking insurance requirements is crucial. The lack of qualified insurance can cause transaction blockages and affect the ability to resell properties. To cope with unpredictable situations in the future, establishing a contingency fund for insurance and repairs is essential for condo associations. This fund would help them manage changes in insurance policies or unforeseen incidents without disrupting residents' lives. The insurance crisis in Florida showed that investors and residents need to be able to anticipate policy changes and prepare for potential risks. Failure to predict changes in insurance could lead to severe financial consequences. Another important factor is that insurance and financial conditions directly impact condo values. Although a condo might be attractive and well-equipped, without adequate insurance, its value will decline, and it will be harder to trade. The withdrawal of insurance companies, along with changes in insurance policies, created a turning point in Florida's financial crisis. From this point, homeowners and investors need to recognize the importance of insurance and the factors that determine the stability of the real estate market. Do you agree with the changes in insurance policies in Florida and their impact on the real estate market? Please leave a 1 if you agree, and a 0 if you don't in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support us. Stay tuned for more updates. As the real estate and insurance crisis deepened, the governor of Florida decided to take a stand against insurance companies and lending institutions, reaffirming his commitment to protect the interests of the people. He declared that he would not allow insurance policies and strict regulations in the financial industry to continue harming condo owners who had already suffered enough over the past few years. Tensions escalated as insurance companies and lending institutions were no longer seen as reliable partners. As insurance companies withdrew from the market, they left a significant gap, making it extremely difficult for residents to protect their properties. Meanwhile, financial institutions focused solely on short-term profits, causing families who had bought condos to be unable to secure loans, further exacerbating their financial stress. Feeling abandoned and inadequately protected, the governor of Florida took decisive action. He vowed to halt any policies that might cause further harm to condo owners and promised to implement solutions to protect the public. However, his commitment created a volatile political environment as stakeholders, ranging from insurance companies to investors, felt threatened. Amid the rising tensions, public meetings began to take place. Legislators, construction engineers, real estate experts, and particularly victimized families voiced their concerns. Those directly affected by the housing crisis finally had the opportunity to express their frustration and the difficulties they were facing. These meetings became a focal point for the big questions that no one could answer satisfactorily. Victimized families reflected on how they had spent their entire life savings to own a condo, only to find they couldn't get insurance, couldn't access mortgage loans, or couldn't afford the repairs needed for their homes due to skyrocketing costs. They felt trapped in a crisis with no way out. Their frustration became a powerful voice calling for immediate changes in how the real estate market was managed and operated. Legislators and construction engineers could not remain silent either. They pointed out the flaws in the housing planning and maintenance system, particularly the issues with older buildings that did not meet safety standards. These system failures not only directly contributed to the crisis, but also created significant opportunities for individuals and organizations to exploit the shortage of insurance and oversight. However, while these public meetings provided a space for stakeholders to express their views, the big questions remained unanswered. How could the real estate market be stabilized? How could the public be protected while still maintaining market growth? These questions not only worried the public, but also forced politicians and investors to find ways to cope. The residents, who had endured so much hardship throughout the crisis, were growing increasingly disillusioned. They no longer trusted insurance companies or financial institutions, yet could not find adequate support from the government. While the governor's policies were well-intentioned, they seemed insufficient to resolve the immediate issue. Some people began to feel they had nowhere to turn, trapped in a vicious cycle of debt and financial instability. Meanwhile, insurance companies and lending institutions were not ready to give in. They strongly opposed the government's decisions, demanding to continue operating in their preferred manner. They argued that sudden changes to insurance and financial regulations would have serious implications for economic stability. Some insurance companies even threatened to leave the state if these policies were implemented. The current political and economic dilemma is, who will bear the cost of this crisis? Will it be the people trapped in their condos, or the investors and insurance companies trying to protect their interests? The confrontation between these stakeholders has led to a political battle not only over rights, but also over the future of Florida's economy. The big question is whether a sustainable solution can be found that balances the interests of all parties, from residents to financial institutions. Can the government create reformative policies that help revive the condo and insurance markets without harming long-term growth? The importance of insurance policies and housing planning. The crisis has shown that insurance and housing planning are not just the responsibility of financial institutions, but also of the government, which must ensure stability for its citizens. The government needs to implement timely and effective measures to adjust insurance regulations and create a stable investment environment for the public. One crucial lesson from this crisis is the need to ensure fairness and transparency in managing the real estate market. Political and economic decisions must serve the collective interest of the community, rather than focusing solely on protecting the rights of a specific group or industry. Ultimately, this crisis emphasizes the need to listen to the opinions and feedback of the people. Governments and organizations must have transparent and effective mechanisms to respond to the needs and desires of the community, avoiding leaving unanswered questions in a society already under significant stress. The political tensions and the confrontations between stakeholders will continue to be key factors in determining the direction of Florida's real estate and insurance markets in the coming years. Over the past 12 months, the condo market in Florida has seen a significant drop in value, particularly in areas like Deltona. Condos that were once highly valued and sought after have now lost millions of dollars in home equity. This decline not only reflects the struggles within the real estate market, but has also eroded the trust of many residents, especially those who invested in the market in previous years. The loss in property value has had a severe impact on condo owners, causing them to face not only a reduction in their assets, but also ongoing financial difficulties. The drastic drop in condo values is not an isolated event, but the result of a series of factors affecting the market. The insurance crisis, sudden changes in financial policies, and the declining confidence in the market have made it impossible for thousands of condos to be sold. Furthermore, changes in insurance and financial regulations have led to falling property values, creating a financial crisis for those who had bet on this market. The collapse of the Florida condo market has had serious consequences, not only for condo owners but also for the middle class. Florida, once an attractive destination for middle-class families seeking affordable and stable housing, is now seeing these families face a harsh reality. Their homes are no longer worth what they once were, and they can't sell their properties. The middle-class community, once a cornerstone of the local economy, is now at risk of losing homes and facing financial instability. The loss in property value has not only affected asset value, but has also increased the financial burden on families. The inability to sell homes at a fair price has forced many families into difficult financial situations, including having to sell homes for much less than they originally paid for them. Rising costs. The increasing cost of living, especially insurance and home maintenance, has made it difficult for families to maintain their lives. Many families are burdened not just by high insurance premiums, but also by the costs of repairing and upgrading aging buildings. This rise in costs has placed a significant financial strain on residents who have already endured many challenges over the years. Lack of insurance or difficulty accessing finance. One of the biggest challenges today is the lack of insurance or difficulty accessing financial resources. Condo owners who can't purchase insurance or qualify for mortgages have become the most vulnerable in this market. They are unable to protect their properties from natural disasters and cannot secure loans to maintain their lives. The inability to sell homes has become almost impossible for many families. Condo values have dropped, but there are no buyers. Families cannot find buyers for their condos, leaving them stuck with unsellable properties. The real estate market has become stagnant, making the financial situation of residents even more stressful. The entire real estate market in Florida is currently in a difficult position, with transactions declining sharply and property values continuing to drop. Families trying to hold on to their properties are unable to buy or sell, and the market seems to have no way out. This crisis is not only affecting homeowners, but also having a profound impact on the local economy, as the real estate industry plays a significant role in job creation and economic development. Insurance and financial policy reforms. The most critical step in recovering the market is reforming the insurance and financial systems. The Florida government needs to implement solutions to alleviate the burden of insurance and create a more favorable financial environment for families and condo owners. Financial support policies are necessary to help struggling families overcome this difficult period. This could include property tax reductions, enhanced support loans for first-time homebuyers, and making it easier for families to access financial resources. Another solution is to focus on developing new, high-quality condos with safety standards. This will create a new supply for the market and help regenerate property values. The insurance crisis has shown that insurance is not just a tool to protect assets, but a key factor in the stability of the market. The government and insurance companies need to work together to find long-term and sustainable solutions. Investors should focus on real estate projects that are sustainable and capable of weathering market fluctuations and policy changes. This will help create a stronger real estate market in the future. Finally, the government must ensure that real estate development does not harm residents. Policies must be adjusted to align with the interests of all parties, from the public to investors. Although the current situation remains challenging, with appropriate reforms and support measures, Florida can still recover and overcome this crisis in the future. Thank you for watching today's video. If you found this information helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. We would love to hear your thoughts on the current state of the Florida condo market and the necessary solutions for recovery. Please comment 1 if you agree with these reforms, or comment 0 if you have a different opinion. Let's discuss and find the best solutions together. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next videos.